Welcome to Talk Purpose and Truth with Eden and Kim, shifting you into higher consciousness, the show that elevates, uplifts, and encourages listeners to grow, heal, awaken, and evolve. Eden and Kim include bold topics, special interviews with inspiring guests, intuitive readings, channeled messages from beyond, including celebrities, hot topics to expand your awareness, and time for questions from the audience. Tune in for unprecedented truth, authenticity, on-purpose discussions, and magical moments.
Substance abuse outpatient program, state certified, and I also run a nonprofit counseling center. It's been a miracle. And the work that I did was, I was telling Eden, was through Sigmund Freud. I went to depth analysis institutes where I studied the deepest manner of psychological study possible. And that's Sigmund Freud. And so that's what Eden and I got started talking about. Was I'm heavily focused on Freud's theory of that which gets repressed gets expressed.
You're not letting me ask you my question, though. Hold on.
Do it. Repetition compulsion. Do it.
Okay, well, you kind of already said it, but yes, whatever is repressed gets expressed. That is Freud's theory. And we do want you to expand on that. Give us some examples of what can happen when people cover up their pain.
Let's do two examples. First one being the most obvious one, which would be substance abuse. Nobody comes to the table with drug addiction and doesn't have a iceberg going on, which is what you see on top is the heroin addiction. And then the iceberg below is all the trauma, all the issues, all the self-injuries, all the self-esteem issues, all the toxic childhood trauma. So my work, getting people clean and sober, is getting into all that repressed material, because you're not using heroin, you're not using speed, you're not shooting dope because you don't have issues. So I believe in getting that. I have shovels in my office. You come in and you do the deep dig. I'll give you another really good example of repression, which I'm seeing a lot of lately, and that's the collapse of people's marriages. I deal with a lot of midlife crisis material where people come to me. I'm buying a red Corvette. I'm getting a girlfriend. I'm leaving my 20-year marriage. And I'm like, wait a minute. And then I do a deep dive into what's really going on. What's really going on in that moment. Because half the time people in their 40s and early 50s, even late 30s, you could be experiencing something that Freud was talking about in repressing the unconscious and expressing it later in life by doing something catastrophic, like sabotaging a marriage, sabotaging a relationship, acting out in some way. I'm not always convinced that the midlife crisis needs to continue, needs to go on, needs to ruin the marriage, needs to break up the family. Most of the time, I'm in there getting the job done on uncovering childhood material that's causing the marriage to fall apart, because that's where the acting out is. And you can projecting, which is another great term, psychological term. You could be projecting onto the marriage something that's inside of you that has nothing to do with the marriage. It has everything to do with your unmet needs, your unresolved conflicts. And that is the primary stuff that needs to be looked at before you go in and put a time bomb down on a relationship that's been in place for years, especially when there's kids.
Right.
So, a lot of people come to my office for substance abuse, and then we end up getting inside of saving the marriage instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, your story is amazing. Like, you need to write a book if you haven't already.
Thank you.
In the works, right?
In the works.
But regarding that, I think that's really fascinating, and I've been seeing that in my coaching with couples as well. how do you stop couples from making the wrong choice in their marriage, and what's the key to helping them heal their relationship?
Oh my God. First of all, getting in the room with at least one of the couples.
One of the spouses?
Yes. Yeah.
Not both?
If I can't get both of them in the room, I've got one of them in the room. If I don't have one of them in the room, I have the other one in the room. And then all of a sudden we're all in the room. Yeah. I'm not the kind of therapist where I go along with the ride. I go along with the show. You come into my office and you say you want to blow up your 20-year marriage because you're just not feeling it. I'm going down into the areas that you probably don't want to hear, but you know that you need to hear. I am not a co-signer. It's funny because my friends, they call me the kick-ass therapist. I'm very loving and I'm very motherly and maternal. People just cling to me, but I'm also the kind of person that really gets down to business to figure out what are we really doing here? Is this really a solid purpose? Are you really out of love with this person? Are you really packing up and moving away from this relationship for all the right reasons? Most of the time, I will get the answer of no. And as a matter of fact, I got a phone call just recently from someone 2 years ago. He got on the phone and he said, Sarah, I should have listened to you. I want her back. I made the biggest mistake of my life. He's in northern Dakota somewhere with a new life. He can't stand it. He's like, what? I should have listened to you. I get those calls all the time. And I say, a day late, dollar short, that other person has moved on. And some of us are experiential learners where we have to go and screw things up and then, come to the table later when it's too late. But I try to avoid that by getting the questions answered. What happened to you in childhood? What's currently going on that all of a sudden you are claiming to be out of love with this person that you have loved for so long?
So you believe that childhood trauma
creates
something
a
to do
midlife crisis.
It creates a midlife crisis.
Why on earth would you even need a midlife crisis if you've got your work fixed, if you've got your personality organized? There would be no need for a midlife crisis. You'd be going strong and smooth. Everything would be making sense. A midlife crisis is Freud's best evidence that there's been some toxic material that's been repressed.
Some people don't know they're in a midlife crisis, though.
They sure don't. They sure don't. They think that dopamine that's going on, they think that dopamine rush, that addiction to the new scenario is real. They've got it fixed in their minds, like, oh, I'm going to have this life of a 20-year-old, or I'm going to be doing something amazing. That's, there's another thing that goes on is that I'm a failed actress, right? I wanted to be an actress. I failed at that. I became a drug addict instead. My moves on the chessboard of relationships were very affected by my feelings of failure.
Inadequacy,
not meeting my own expectations, and I took it out on my partners. I married the wrong person. I got involved with the wrong people, and that was that imposter syndrome. That I was living a complete lie. Led by narcissism. I'm a big fan of getting into the narcissistic material. I think we can easily get into narcissism later on in life, only because behind the narcissist lives a person this big. I do a lot of projective drawings, and when people give me a person that's this big, that's a sign of inadequacy. Narcissism is a deep-seated feeling of not being enough. And then the narcissism is projected out onto hurting the family, getting a lover, cheating on the spouse, drug use, acting out behaviors later in life. I mean, all of this stuff is what Freud was talking about. Freud had it right. Whatever gets repressed ends up getting expressed no matter what.
Yeah, in either an unhealthy way or healthy way.
At 50 years old, at 12 years old, for me, at 14 years old, I'm always a work in progress. You bet. Most of the people on earth haven't been in therapy.
Yeah. And then speaking to that, how does someone know if they're with the right therapist?
Well, first thing is, if you feel good every time you leave your therapist's office, you're in trouble. You're with the wrong therapist. That's the first red flag. Oh, I can't wait for my therapy appointment. I'm so excited. Wrong therapist. I get people walking in the door saying, I didn't want to come today. And I was like, that's good. That's a good sign. That means we're doing the real work. Yeah. Unfortunately, therapists want to keep their clients. They want to keep them sick. They want to keep them on the caseload. They want to keep the conversation going because that's how they're paying their bills. I'm not into that. I don't roll like that. I'm going to tell you, my door has been slammed more times than it's been opened.
But you heal people.
Of course, they come back. Of course. Yeah, when you're in the room with truth, you want more of it. When you're in the room with co-signing, eventually that's going to collapse. That's the system that's not going to pan out. And it's funny because the therapist will eventually get fired anyway because you'll be saying, well, you haven't helped me. You're just making my life worse by co-signing everything and not telling it like it is.
Kind of a waste of time.
Yeah.
Wow.
I know, right? A lot of helpful information for a lot of people right now, especially. And I think the pandemic just brought out stuff that maybe would have come out later anyways.
You're really smart to say that, Kim. This pandemic has caused more disruption in people's marriages and relationships because finally they're together alone in the house and they can't get out, and then all of a sudden they're picking each other apart. And my phone has been ringing off the hook with couples reaching out saying, somebody's fallen off the wagon, or somebody wants a divorce, or this has caused a lot of upheaval.
Mm-hmm.
And I encourage people before you sign any divorce documents to see at least a few different therapists and get a few different opinions. Because that is a final document. That is a final move to say, I'm divorcing you.
Yeah.
That is so permanent, because what happens afterwards with affairs, sometimes people don't forgive, Make sure I always encourage people to see more than one therapist. Go get some more opinions on this.
Yeah, like a doctor, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So on another note, we have about 10 minutes left, and I am very curious to know, you said Eden changed your life. How did Eden change your life?
Wow. Oh my God. So I've been to more therapists than you can count on fingers and toes. And I have never had an experience like I had with Eden. And it was on the phone, and it was in the first 10 minutes. I don't know what happened. I was having a nervous breakdown. I was suicidal, and I was on death's door. First of all, I'm going through the worst divorce in human history. And then I lost my brother. My brother died of the disease of alcoholism. And I have a very dear friend that said, you know what, you need to call this woman named Eden. And I did. And Eden changed my life. We had a reading. We got some confirmation from the other side. And I'm going to tell you something, that I was not very spiritual before. And I am completely tuned into the spirit world now. And it happened with Eden. And I'm 55 years old. And I've been through hell. And you'd think that I got all my shit together by now. And she changed my life within that one first reading. It gave me some sort of feeling that I was protected, that I'm on the right course, that staying on the planet is the right thing to do. Yeah, she saved me from a very hopeless state of mind. It's a miracle, an absolute miracle.
Yeah. And she listened to me, because you see the strong personality that she has.
Yeah, well, you have a gift.
Oh, thank you. She said I'm the only person that she's ever really listened to.
No,
right. It reminds me, you know what, Sarah, it reminds me of my dad. He's been on the show a while ago, but he had never been to a therapist in his life, still hasn't, read spiritual books and personal development, but didn't really get help for things.
Yeah.
And one reading with Eden healed like 30 years of stuff for him. Like he shifted completely from that.
That's exactly how I feel, Kim. That is exactly how I feel. I feel like the hell that I've been through is over. I mean, that's a miracle, because my life has been a dumpster dive. It's been absolute one catastrophe after another. And that was an amazing experience. My dad showed up, my birth dad showed up, my brothers showed up, some other famous people showed up. I mean, it was astonishing. And some things were said that only I knew.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I was blown away, because she doesn't know me from Adam. She said some things that only I knew. And that was a big time confirmation that this is very real.
Mm-hmm.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, you're a healer too, Kim.
Yeah. Well, she helps me a lot, and we help each other. So
yeah. But I've listened to you too on the podcast. You're a big time healer.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah.
Well,
we all want to say something. Well, I was going to say Sarah has shared our podcast episodes with some of her groups that she works with, the people that she.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I have a huge TV in my group room, and I have been blasting you guys every single week. We're doing one. We did the attachment theory when you guys did attachment theory, because that's my entire master's degree. And you guys nailed that one. So that was up there, and everybody was like, oh my God, Dr. Sara, that's what you always teach us. And I was like, yep, these two are on point.
Mm. Are you gonna share this episode with them?
No, I'll be too scared. I'll be too shy. Yeah.
You're a big inspiration.
Of course I will. Of course I will.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You look amazing. You look amazing, and you're such an inspiration that
thank you.
Anyone can achieve what they want if they want it bad enough. And sometimes hitting bottom can be a gift, you know?
You know what? That's exactly right. That's it. I want people to know that, because heroin addiction, methamphetamine, pushing a shopping cart on the streets, most people feel like they can never get clean and they can never climb the mountain. But I have to be living proof, and especially right now with so much drug addiction.
Right.
So I want people to know that, you know, there's hope for this. You can absolutely restore your personality.
And people would be so blessed to be able to work with you, because just like you say about me, I think you are a healer too, and you will help. You've helped so many people.
Thank you. And I'm handing out your phone number left and right too, but I know you're also very packed and busy.
Thank you. So how can people find you?
Call me on my cell phone. Best way.
Okay. Because you're not on social media, right?
No. Nope. So just put my cell phone up there. That's the best way to contact me. And I have a website.
Oh, you have a website. What's your website?
www.soberstages.com.
Okay. That works.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, you guys keep doing what you're doing.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your story so authentically.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're amazing. And Kim, let's share about our new website.
Yeah, we're excited. We have been doing this podcast for over 2 years, and we decided, besides our social media pages, we wanted to let people go further into exploring and have a one-stop shop for finding episodes. And so we got our domain, talkpurposeandtruth.com.
Yeah.
Purposeandtruth.com?
Talkpurposeandtruth.com.
I'm so proud of you.
Yes. So everybody check it out and let us know your thoughts.
Love it.
And we're just excited to release this episode and hear everybody's feedback. And we'll let you know. And everyone else, we'll see you next week.
Right on. Thank you.
Thanks, Sarah. Bye.
For more information on Eden, go to edensustin.com. For more information on Kim, go to kimlifecoach.com. Make sure to follow them on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Talk Purpose and Truth Podcast. If you loved this episode, you'll love every episode. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss anything. Thank you for listening.